Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm Ellie Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, just doing it from a neoclassical perspective. And that means each night we ask ourselves, what happened today? What might it tell us about the coming ones? Do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast every before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube, and it's under the channel Ellie Little. If you haven't subscribed to the show and you want to, just reach up in the right-hand corner. Anytime I push content, you'll get a notification. As far as what happened today, let's look at the numbers. You actually had a positive day. It was a positive day around the world. I don't know that this is going to last, but enjoy it while it lasts, I guess, is the way you should say or see it. Russell, NASDAQ, S&P, right? All of them gain today, get a little pop higher. You get asset classes everywhere, gold, silver, oil. Doesn't matter where you look, everything's up. Dollar slightly up. That's it in a nutshell, right? Now let's look at the markets though. You know, one of the things that I've talked about for a while now, and I've outlined to some degree, is that we need to be thinking about this market in terms of a range. And we can view that on multiple time frames, but you know, just looking at it here on the daily, this swing point low, when it came back to test, that was a bearish retest regenerate. It just so happens that it lines up with the big bar, and so many times these just so happen a lot. And so you got a range up there and you got a range up underneath it. And those two areas is kind of defined everything has happened since early September. In other words, when we came out of the top range and broke back down into the lower one, right? We've been wallowing around now for 2 months in that range. Right, so you're up here, you hold, you give it up, right? You go down, you set a new one, you come back up. Now you've got two inside here, now you're in the lower one. The demarcating bar has been this bar on this last couple months. It gets test up to it, tries to test up to it, tries to test up to it again today. Each time it gives it up. This market wants to test the lows again, is the way it's set up. And I've outlined that in numerous ways. The range is one way to look at it. You've also got ABCD structures. I've pointed these out before. And they haven't changed, right? They're still pointing to lower numbers. You've got 3 of them on 2 time frames. But one of the things you should probably notice is it's not just the S&P. We do focus on the S&P a lot because the S&P is the broad market. It's the benchmark. It's the 500 largest stocks. So it's a nice wide set of stocks that you can look at, right, that everybody focuses on, which gives you a broad measure to compare to and to watch. If we look at the NASDAQ, though, right, this is another broad measure, of course, on the NASDAQ exchange. You've got that same, quad witching bar, and if you go up and look at that bar here, and if you just take the top of that bar, and we'll just divide it out here and take pretty much the top of that bar, you've also got sort of ranges that have formed off of this bar. Now, they're not as clean, but there's kind of ranges here as well. I don't know that I would draw them that way, but I do think this bar is becoming more and more important. And so if I actually were to try to draw them equidistant, I'd probably use the bottom of that high and then most of these across. The problem here is that whether you want to look at it as a range or not, or whether you simply want to look at that bar and say this is the important bar, and we put a line across it, right? You can see where most of the trades up here were over it, and now you're starting to get this downside stuff, right? We broke down, got underneath it, popped back over it, now we're back inside of it. This index has been the one leading us higher. This index now is starting to come under pressure to some degree. Today, you trade over that bar, you give it back up. This is telling me this market wants to try and trade lower. If I look at the strongest of the indexes, which is the index itself, right now this one has that same bar, right? They're all the same. They're the quad witching bar from back here. Draw the line, look at the price points. All of them over it. Tries to get under it, can't stay under it, right? Gets back over it tomorrow it's probably going to test back into it. You got Intel after the night, after the bell with earnings down 5%. Intel, not the largest weighting, but one of the larger weightings inside here. Microsoft comes up on Thursday. Those are the two power punches this week in the NDX. Next week you get into Apple, Google, and a bunch of the others. Those are the ones that are going to define whether this market can hold up or not. And finally, let's go to the small caps, because the small caps now are starting to try and break down. Now, on all the others, right, those lows of September, except for on the S&P, those lows of September are quite a ways, right? NASDAQ, NDX, quite a ways away. Russell's almost there, and the Russell looks like it's going there. Long tails on the upside. These are not the kind of tails you want. This price point looks like it's game on. Looks to me like it's going to try and test it. And you got swing point lows up underneath, so you have two of them, not that far apart. That to me looks like the more danger zone, and maybe the index that we should be watching at this point. Now, if we come back here, you know, like I've been saying over and over again, you've got bullish retest regens. In this case, on the Russell, it's already tested it twice, right? You had it here, you have it again there. And actually, let's see if that's really true. 1207.20. Yeah. So you come down, you regenerate. You come down again, you regenerate again. That's two. Now you're coming back the third time. Third time, not nearly as high probability that you're going to hold. And so on the Russell, right, this market looks a little bit more damaging. It looks to me like you could trade deeper on this particular index than the others. So that's the U.S. markets. Let's pop over. I haven't had a chance to look at these, so we'll look at them together. I want to look over at the world markets right quick and see what they look like. So let me pop up. I'll go to Europe first. And let me see, I'll start with Switzerland. Let's see what Switzerland looks like. So Switzerland is the one I'd been watching the last 2 or 3 months. Let's see if it's still the lead index. Okay, so Switzerland test, breaks under this low here, tries to test under and break under this other low, but doesn't, right? Just trades down to it and pops back up. And this is a pretty steep channel on the way down if you're into that classical stuff. I'm trying to gather where the key trades are, and they look to me to be right here in terms of you got to get back over this to get something going to the upside. So anything that pushes up into this area here and then rolls back over is inviting another test of these lows in an attempt to break them. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Now, this is also interesting. So Switzerland so far had been holding that bullish retest regen, just barely, but holding it. You're underneath it right now. You want to see, if you're bullish, you want to see it back up inside that area, not closing down below it. So, you know, if I'm looking at this market by the end of the week, I want to see it up here. I don't want to see it down here somewhere. And so to me, that's probably the most important thing. And matter of fact, if you want to draw some more important things, I would think this little zone right here that you see in green is critical. If it doesn't hold that, you know, game on to the bottom side of this thing. So Switzerland is you know, starting to waver a little bit here. We'll have to see if they can hold or not. Let's see what it looks like on the DAX. And on the weekly or on the daily, DAX much stronger. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Yeah, DAX looks a lot better. So Switzerland definitely looking weaker than this. Let's see what the French market CAC looks like. And that one actually looks just like the DAX. Looks much stronger than Switzerland. So is Switzerland the Russell, or is it just a lagging index that's a little bit weaker? Over in Asia, now when the dollar's strong, China does well. And you can see it here, right? China pushing back up again. And it looks to me like they have set up another 1, 2. I'm trying to see if it's an ABCD structure up. 30, yeah, it is. So they've got another ABCD structure to the top side. And it looks like it's from about there up, which will take it right back to these highs. So that kind of pretends the dollar continuing to be strong. Let's see what the Nikkei looks like for grins. Nikkei also pressing back up towards the highs. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad either, still holding in there. And that reminds me, or makes me think of the currencies when I'm looking at those. Let's take a quick look and see. I know the dollar's been holding pretty well. Let's see what it looks like and compare it to the euro. And here's the dollar. So the dollar's just hanging at the highs, not giving anything up. Let's see what the euro looks like. And then we'll also check out the Swiss currency. My guess is the Switzerland's currency is getting stronger. So this is hanging at the lows. Let's see what the Swiss franc looks like. Actually hanging at the lows too. So something else is going on in Switzerland. Not sure what it is. Okay, well, currencies haven't changed much. That still looks the same. I'm assuming that the yen has sold down, given that the Nikkei is still hanging at the highs. And that's true. So that does make sense. What do we think is going to happen? I mean, this is Wednesday. You got earnings. Earnings season just got underway Friday. Today, those were the two biggest days so far. Friday was a sell-off on the financials. Today, you actually had the opposite. It was across the board higher. Let's take a look real quickly. I'm curious as to what those financials look like now. And let's see what the sector looks like. If I look at the XLF, and let's see what she shows us. Yeah, for the sell-off, it's not bad actually. It's hanging in there pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't look bad. Quickly take a look at technology here since we're on the sectors. And that index is not looking too bad either. We got a little hanging man there, so we'll probably get some downside. Looks to me like we're going to get a little downside again, pressure tomorrow. This market is going to try to test those lows again. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, but it does look like it's going to trade that way. If I bring the S&P back up, you had, a hanging man here on this bar. You go down, you test. You come back up, you get a doji on the bounce. This market wants to try and trade lower. Anything into this area keeps getting sold. Folks, if you can't take it up, you're going to try and take it down. Have a great one. Good night.